All right, welcome in another week, another episode of Shovick Sports. I'm Corey.
And I am Austin.
And you know that familiar face over there on the screen right there, that's Timmy. Tim with Answer the Call. You guys have seen him a lot on our shows. You've seen him on his channel. He is a co-host of the AFC West Round Table. Tim, welcome in. How you doing?
Hey, man, thank you for inviting me back to your show, guys. I'm super pumped because we've been talking a lot of NFL, guys, and you know, NFL's cool and all, but what really gets my juices flowing is college football. It's just I'm more passionate about it, and I'm super excited when you were like, hey, let's do a college episode, and so I'm ready to talk some college ball with the brothers. Let's go.
Yeah, buddy. I know it didn't take you but maybe 10 seconds to say yes when I asked if you wanted to do college football. You were all over it. And we had talked and we said, hey, we can do college football once we get closer to the season. But with the way the AFC West Roundtable has been going, we were kind of like, well, that kind of is taking priority right now. That doesn't mean we won't get to a college football episode once the season gets closer. It's just right now, it's a good time. Spring camps, spring games, all that fun stuff's wrapped up. Everyone's getting ready for their summer workouts. And believe it or not, there's already Heisman lists out there. So, Timmy, we decided that we were going to do some Heisman talks tonight. If you want to start with number 5, or how do you want to do your countdown?
I'm down for whatever. Am I listing all mine, or are we going to go back and forth?
We can do yours first, that way we can keep track of what you're doing, and then we'll slide in. And again, you're the guest of honor here, so we'll spend a little extra time talking on your list because I was actually you sent me your list, and we had a little bit of crossover, not too much, and we tried to do that purposefully. Like, yeah, we kind of had the same as far as you have your for sure ones that you're for But then, like the dark horses, we definitely tried to stay away from the same dark horse candidates type thing. So let's start with your list, and then after your list, we'll go to ours, and then we'll go from there.
Here, how about I'll do like my bottom 2, and then you guys can do your bottom 2, and then we can do like the top 3. That way, it kind of like it's not just one person talking, and that way the viewers get your guys' input too. So I'm gonna start with number 5, and that is a quarterback out of the SEC, LaNorris Sellers, quarterback, South Carolina, guys. For many reasons, this may feel like more of a dark horse candidate than a Heisman favorite. I give Sellers the bid here instead of Garrett Nussmeier because Sellers is a dual threat quarterback. In college football, being a dual threat quarterback definitely ups your chances of winning the Heisman. So he's a dual threat quarterback. He took over last season for the Gamecocks. I thought he did an exceptional job on this. And he didn't light up the stat sheet per se, but I do expect him to take a big leap in his second year as a full starter with the Gamecocks. And last year, he threw for 2,534 yards, 18 touchdowns, and only 17 interceptions. He did showcase like that dual threat ability I was just talking about with 166 carries for 674 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he comes in at number 5, guys, right here on my list as the top 5 favorite for the Heisman this season. And I'm not going to lie, it is a little bit of a spoiler. I did go a little kind of quarterback heavy because that does seem to be what happens more so than not. Travis Hunter last season was kind of like one of those unicorn players, and he stole it from everybody else. But the Heisman voting is usually a lot of quarterbacks. It's no shock that I went with the quarterback out of the SEC and LaNorris Sellers. So I want to know what you guys think about that real quick, though.
Yeah, he's on my list as well. I actually had him as my number. I like him. He's kind of my favorite. It's easy to kind of throw other quarterbacks up there, but I do like him. And I like, he's in the SEC. And we can say what we want about the SEC. I mean, during the regular season, it is the toughest division or toughest conference, excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
In football. Once the playoffs start, I mean, it varies, right? Like, I think the SEC was kind of a letdown last year, but Alabama was down. There was teams that were down as far as that goes. As far as Sellers goes, I like him also as a possible number 1 overall pick next year, depending on obviously Arch Manning and what he decides to do. I think that dual threat, and that's kind of where the NFL is heading towards, right? And he brings that aspect of it. And I also will make note, I did get him to transfer to me on College Football 25. I was able to snack him up, and so I like him there. And you know, again, it's this far out. Anything's possible. Anything can happen. But I do, going into the season, he is actually my favorite to win.
Yeah, I like him too. He was on my list. I had him 4. The only reason I don't have him higher is just because I think your overall team success matters a little bit too when it comes to the Heisman, and I'm not sold on South Carolina kind of being at the top. Like, they're going to be good, but I'm just not confident that they're going to have that overall team success to where they're going to pick a Heisman from like a 6, 7, or 8 win team. But if they find a way to kind of compete for the SEC, I have no doubt that he's going to be one of the top candidates for Heisman. But that lack of team success and winning and maybe SEC competitiveness is the reason I have him 4th.
Yeah.
Okay, so it does seem like we kind of value him kind of the same, kind of. I mean, you know, a little higher, a little lower on some of our boards, but
yeah, and we all had him on there either way. So I'll go next with mine. And I'm going to go away from the quarterbacks real quick. I'm going to go Jeremiah Smith, receiver.
Oh,
dude, this guy could easily play in the NFL right now, right? I know he was a true freshman last year. The things he was doing to cornerbacks and secondary, I am 100% confident that he could have been a top 5 pick this year in this year's draft, and he would come in and he would be flirting with some rookie records as far as that goes. Just what he's able to do, and you can just put the film on and watch what he did to Oregon, right? And look what he did against other teams. He's a guy to keep your eye on this year, and I wish they would go and they would look at the rule of guys going in college and NFL, right? Like, there's just certain guys that they're good enough, they can do it. There's, you know, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, I would love to see this guy go up against, you know, a Pat Surtain, you know, some of the Horn, some of those top corners in the NFL, because I still think I think he's going to be all right. And I like him as a non-quarterback Heisman.
Yeah, I love Jeremiah Smith. I had him on my list too. He cracked the top 3 for me. You kind of always have that. I feel like they do throw kind of the best non-quarterback into the top 3, right? Just for some parity. So, and I think, and I don't think it's close. I think he's easily the best non-quarterback player in the nation this year. He might just be the best overall player in general. Truth be told, I mean, he's special, right? There's no denying that. Again, you don't know. It's Ohio State, so they could have bought a lot of talent around him. You don't know if he's going to take a step back because of a quarterback play or whatnot, but we got to remember the season he just put up with a Will Howard, who, say what you want about Will Howard, he's not known for being a thrower of the football. So if they get a quality quarterback in there, you might even see better season from Jeremiah Smith. So I liked him. He cracked my top 3 as kind of the best non-quarterback to be in the top 3. And he's one of those that I hope kind of finds a way to fall to the Chiefs at 32 next year.
Oh gosh.
You're right. It was only under 10 minutes in.
Under 10 minutes. Hey, this isn't the AFC West roundtable, my guy. We're talking college ball.
Okay.
No NFL talk today, boys.
But if you look at this Ohio State receiving core and just in general, man, I don't know if there's another receiving core in the country that can top what they do, and it's all led by this guy right here. What are your thoughts, Tim?
You know, Ohio State, we could probably just go ahead and call them wide receiver university at this point, because the level of talent that comes in and year out that goes through Ohio State, that does make it to the NFL and have a really good career. I'm really impressed. And I just like I'm kind of taken aback by for just like looking at it from that standpoint of they are always producing the wide receivers. I mean, they had Edbuka, Jeremiah Smith, Cornell Tate, this past season, and there was a few others that still produced. And then you look in recent years, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. So they're constantly putting out that NFL talent at wide receiver. So I really like Jeremiah Smith. I actually do have him on my board, and I mean, if you guys want, he's my number 4. He made my number 4 on the list. Freshman records all over the place, especially at Ohio State last season. And now with Ekbuka in the NFL, more targets will go Smith's way. Last season, Smith had 76 catches for 1,315 yards and 15 touchdowns with a crowded wide receiver room. Now it gets a little less crowded. And I mean, I know everybody's going to be like, oh, well, Jeremiah Smith's getting the ball. We can double team him. It's not that easy. Certain receivers, they can just man that double team and still come up with the ball. Jeremiah Smith is one of them, and I have him as my 4th ranked in my top 5 Heisman this preseason.
Yeah, and you look at Brian Hartline, who's their wide receiver coach there. I mean, come on, man. Like, get this man, give him a promotion. Like, he continuously does this with the receivers. He's been there for a few years now. It's just like, weirdly enough, I do remember him as a player, and I think he was obviously just below average, but what he's doing now, and obviously, like Austin said, what they're able to do as far as like buying their talent as far as that goes. But again, you still got to coach them up, right? Like, they can't just come in. I mean, they're still playing in the Big Ten. They're still playing at Ohio State. They're still playing against tough competition. And what he was able to do last season, I don't think there's going to be much regression this season. I find a hard time thinking that there's going to be regression. Teams can do that, but then again, they're going to have other guys that are going to then, that's going to open up for someone else. But either way, this guy is definitely he could even be in a top 3 pick. Honestly, he's just that good. And I do have another receiver, but I'm going to go to that later. So I'm going to go to my next one. Wait, you? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah. So you guys have already knocked off my 3rd and 4th. So I'll go ahead and my 5th person. A little bit of a bias just because it's my own list and it's like the 5th, but I'm going to go Jalen Daniels.
He's jinxing it.
That's fine, right? Like, there's not an easier conference in America, well, out of the quote-unquote Power 5 than the Big 12. There's no real competition. He looked good last year after he came back after a few weeks from his injury and kind of got the rust off. He looked real good. We actually got some receivers, kind of speed receivers to go with this, kind of a new offense coordinator. I just like it. When a dude's been in college for 30 years, at some point you got to put it all together for a full year.
30 years? That is wild.
So at some point, right, like going into last year, he cracked some of the Heisman favorite list, right? Like, kind of a watch list with the excitement and everything, and then he had that injury, kind of came on a little slow, whatever. I think he's got to put it together for a full season, and he's going to have the team success in the Big 12, right? Like, they're going to at least win 7, 8, 9 plus games just given the Big 12. So the team success will be there, and if the team's having success, I believe he's going to have a lot of success, which I think it'll be a lot of numbers for him. So he's kind of my number 5, kind of just out of left field, more of a hope than an actual, like, truly think he's number 5. But I'm going to show KU some love on this.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend much on it. Just he hasn't stayed healthy. He's got to stay healthy. Big 12 is easy. It is that way. We do have a new offensive coordinator. He was the quarterback coach, so we may air it out a little more than what we've done in the past. There's no Devin Neal there in the backfield. Luke Grimm's obviously doing really good things with the Chargers in their rookie camp. So, I would love it because then that means KU's having success. But again, I kept him outside because I didn't want to jinx it per se. And I know he did some throwing in the spring, but not as much. So there's always in the back of my mind that concern that the back injury is still there and whatnot. So, Tim, any thoughts on JD6?
It's Austin, so you kind of always got to expect something like this. And now you guys are KU guys, right? Like you're fans of KU.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently I was sleeping under a rock, and that information got mixed up, among all the episodes that I've listened to. I respect it because you're going for something that most people aren't, and that's kind of like my Lenora Sellers pick. Most people don't have him in the top 5. Most people don't have him in the top 6. But I mean, it stops there. Jalen Daniels. I respect him as a dual threat quarterback, but I think the loss of Devin Neal is going to put a little bit more pressure on him, and I don't think that his game is quite as much as what a lot of people think it is. And I'm just going to say I don't even think he cracks the top 10 in Heisman this year.
No, I mean, that's probably accurate, but we got to remember when he's fully healthy, he's probably one of the better throwers of a football in the nation. Like when he's healthy, he throws absolute dimes.
Well,
and now we actually have some speed receivers. He is a true dual threat. We got a transfer running back from Iowa. Our run game will be fine.
Okay.
Will it take a step back? Maybe, probably, just because Devin Neal is Devin Neal. But we still bring back most of our backfield. We had an Iowa transfer at running back. We got, I believe, an Alabama receiver transfer. So, there is still going to be quite a bit around him. So,
okay.
I get, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here, pounding the table you're crazy for thinking he's not top 10. But I also don't think it's that crazy to think that he will, just given the fact that we've seen what he can do when healthy. And if he puts it all together, he is, again, I'm not saying he's a top 5 NFL draft pick or anything, because it's more than just being able to throw the football, right? You have to, so much more goes in. But in college, you can get away with just throwing a really good football, especially in the Big 12. So I don't think it'd be too crazy, but I do understand it's definitely a stretch.
All right.
Fair enough.
Tim,
Fair enough.
Who's next on your list?
All right, so we went through 5 and we went through 4. Now here comes the good stuff, guys. All right, here comes the good stuff because it's the top 3. All right, these are going to be some household names that everybody in the nation should hear of because, I mean, let's face it, they have been like the superstars on their team. They have been carrying the team, and I've got to go with show some love for Notre Dame and running back Jeremiah Love. He cracks my top 3. And this may come as a shock to a lot, all right? But if you watched any college football last season, any at all, then you know that a large part of Notre Dame's offense and their success started with the legs of Jeremiah Love. He had 163 carries, 1,125 yards on 17 touchdowns. He also showcased that he can catch the ball when it is thrown his way with 28 catches for 237 yards and 2 touchdowns. He can catch out of the backfield. Notre Dame ran the ball last season. And, I mean, they actually ran him so much that he actually did get hurt, and but then he came back for the playoffs. But I look for Jeremiah Love to pick up right where he left off, and he's just going to – I think he could be top 3 leading the nation in rushing this season. I think he's going to score 20 touchdowns, okay? He is that kind of back, and when you have that kind of back, you think Devin Neal at Kansas. I know he wasn't a Heisman favorite last year, but you think Devin Neal at Kansas, you think Ashton Jeanty, you think all these great backs who have scored 20-plus touchdowns in a season, and I think that Jeremiah Love can elevate his game to the next level, and I think he'll be in the Heisman finalists. He's definitely going to be in the top 3 for me. So,
yeah, we already covered. My number 3 was Jeremiah Smith.
No Love.
No, mine was Jeremiah Smith, so we already covered that.
What were your thoughts on Love?
Jeremiah Love, I like him.
But
yeah, well, no, I do. I think he's probably going to be the best running back in the nation. I don't want to say there's no competition, right? Because you could always have that like Ashton Genty type person come and kind of just put up numbers. But no, I like him. I do think a little more of the offense is going to be on him, right? Given that I believe Riley Leonard's no longer there, that's a lot of the running attack.
Yeah.
That's going to fall a little more to him. The dude's explosive, right? Like you saw what he did with that injured leg. Like he was still dominating playing injured. So that's always going to get my respect. So I do love him. I like him a lot. He didn't crack my top 5 just because I was quarterback heavy. And then the one non-quarterback, I went Jeremiah Smith. But if I were to include a running back, he's a name at the top of that list for me.
Yeah, and there's a play I believe it was the playoff game that stands out to me is the goal line play. They needed this touchdown. Dude's on a bummed wheel and just absolutely plows over the guy at the goal line. I don't know why they kind of went away from him and after that. But yeah. So Cody, hey buddy.
We'll talk about that next week, bud. We'll talk about that next week.
But back to Love, I don't think it's far-fetched, and I don't have him on my list, but I do like him as a Heisman finalist, just based on what Notre Dame likes to do. Marcus Freeman and those guys, they're starting to get the identity of the coach, right? Marcus Freeman's a great guy to root for. I know my brother's not as big on Notre Dame usually as I overhype Notre Dame all the time just to get let down.
Since Freeman became coach, though, I enjoy them more. But before him, I always thought Notre Dame was overrated.
Now I will say, like, growing up, being that I have Irish descent, Rudy is one of my favorite movies of all time. So, like, I kind of just, like, I always rooted for Notre Dame growing up because I didn't ever have a favorite team. I tend to not go for the local teams. Like, growing up, I didn't root for Kansas. I didn't root for K-State. I didn't root for Oklahoma, Missouri, or Oklahoma State for that matter. And so I kind of just, like, I fell in love with Notre Dame, and I was like, oh, like, I really like their mascot, and I really like their colors, and, they're Irish, and it's the luck of the Irish. As an adult, I've been let down. I still root for Notre Dame, and I will still always root for Notre Dame. And I'm sitting here, and until Marcus Freeman, I feel like when Marcus Freeman came, the whole culture changed, and that is really key. Now, with that said, I still think that Notre Dame, they do really well in the regular season, and then the playoffs, they happen, and then they kind of just choke. I hope Jeremiah Love can step up his game next season. I hope they get past the first round in the playoffs. I hope they get past the semifinals and maybe even win a national championship. So they're a long shot, but I mean, that's what I hope for.
And with Jeremiah Love, obviously St. Louis guy. So obviously we'll pay close attention to that because there's been a great little run of St. Louis athletes making, big time moves along, Jason Tatum, and then Kyron Williams is from St. Louis. He's obviously starting running back for St. Louis. So Notre Dame obviously loves to recruit the area too. So it's good to see that. So again, like I said, I like him, and I probably would put him as maybe the second non-quarterback as a favorite outside of the dark horse that I'll get to here shortly. Moving on, I'm going to go, and I have Kevin Jennings, quarterback SMU, another guy, and I slept on SMU a little bit last year. I really did. I thought making a move to the ACC, I really wanted them in the Big 12. I thought it would have fit them perfectly to be in the Big 12 geographically. We can throw geographics out the window now when it comes to conference realignment. But Kevin Smith, obviously I was huge on Rashard Smith, who obviously is in the NFL now with the Chiefs. But I like this SMU team. I do. I don't know if they're going to be able to duplicate what they were able to do in the ACC last year. But I like him as the quarterback, being a dual threat guy and what he was able to bring to that offense. Him and that coach kind of meshed really well. And it's, I think the success at SMU, if they're able to duplicate what they were able to do last year, it's going to be on the shoulders of this young man. And I kind of like him as, if they get to the playoff again, I do think he's going to be a huge reason why.
That's a very good pick, man. I ain't going to lie. Kevin Jennings, he kind of just last season kind of came out of nowhere, and when you're sitting there watching and you're like, oh, in the ACC, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, SMU's in, like playing in for like the playoff spot, like trying to get in at that last spot in the playoffs and all that. I really enjoyed watching what he did at SMU. I felt SMU was kind of an underrated team in the ACC, like you said. I would have seen him in the Big 12 because I really think he would have just absolutely dominated in the Big 12, and I mean, it would have been real close for Kansas, K-State, Oklahoma State. I mean, right there in Texas. I'm not a fan of the realignment. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm not a fan. I hate that. I hate that Oregon's in the Big 10. We
found something we agree on, man.
I hate that Texas and Oklahoma went to the SEC. I'm kind of like in college football, I'm real big on tradition. I don't mind change, but I'm real big on tradition. And I really just enjoyed watching the KU, the Oklahoma games and stuff like that. The Pac-12 after dark, I mean, was some of the best football. Come on now. I'm not a big fan of the realignment, but if they were, I felt like they should have went to the Big 12, like you said. So, but I want all the teams to go back to their original conferences.
Yeah, no, and luckily we'll get KU Missouri this year. So I think that's week 3. Week 3, KU Mizzou. So that the border war comes back for at least this year. I don't know. I didn't see the details if they were doing a home and home or if it was a little contracted like a 3-year deal or whatever. So again, but we know Oklahoma State aren't going to play each other. Gundy's been very upfront with about that, which sucks because that's always a fun end of season game, right? Mm-hmm. And there for a little bit, it was for the Big 12. Like, hey, if you win this game, then you're in the Big 12 championship. Hey, if you win this game, so that's a whole nother episode we could get into on the whole conference realignment type things. Do you have any thoughts on Kevin Jennings?
Yeah, I think he would be one of the premier dark horse candidates. I don't know. I didn't have him on my list, but I do think all the talent is there for him. And like Timmy said, you have a huge advantage when you're a true legitimate dual threat, which he is. Yeah, I mean, if they duplicate what they did last year or even just, get more talent and take another step forward, then I think his name's definitely going to be mentioned rather quickly, just coming off the season that they had. If they start off and have some early success, the quarterback's obviously going to get some love, and his name will definitely be kind of a hot topic in the circle of Heisman, maybe not top 3 or 4 candidates, but definitely thrown in the circle for the Heisman.
Who's next? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say, we've already got through, all of our top or our bottom 3, I guess, or bottom 4. No, bottom 3.
3. Yep.
So we're in the top 2.
Yep.
Oh, I can't wait to hear yours. Actually, you know what? I want Austin to give his second ranked player first on this one, because I'm just dying over here.
You're gonna cry at my number 1. So number 2, I'm going Arch Manning.
Interesting.
Mostly because I kind of like his style. He's more of a dual threat than people realize. He's a thrower of the football, but he's not like the other Mannings. He's kind of athletic. So I think, I know it's weird. I didn't know that. I just assumed that he was a Manning, so he was just a statue.
Oh, no. He can run.
Yeah, I really I watched that and I'm like, is this Arch? Is this the same? Is he in the Manning family? What is this? But I like him, right? And then Texas, I mean, they always have talent. I thought he played pretty well when he was asked to play so far. Some people don't always buy into the hype, and I usually don't either, but even just seeing him with the eye test, I think he is going to be as good as advertised or as good as hyped. And so just at a school like Texas, I kind of felt kind of obligated to have him top 2, for no other reason, just the team he's on and the little bit of eye test I got from him. I like him. He's got a good arm. He's got athleticism. I like it.
That is interesting because you made the comment that I'm going to cry on your number one. So like I'm sorry, like I can't even like I just want to hurry up and get through mine and Corey's here because
He might have an idea.
I'm just dying to know. I don't know because
Yeah.
first and foremost, it is you, okay?
Yeah, it is.
And we anybody listening, we don't know each other that well. We're still learning each other. I think we're going on what, maybe a month or so of knowing each other, of kind of being on each other's shows and putting the round table together and stuff. So we're all kind of still trying to figure out each other. And like they know each other, obviously they're brothers, but you know, they're trying to figure out me. I'm trying to figure out them. And so like when you make a comment that like you're gonna cry at my number one, like I'm just like, what?
Let me backtrack it a little bit because you are a college football guy. So this may not be as far out of left field as I think it's going to be for you. But I don't believe that this person is on many or anybody's even radar. But I do know it's a name that most college football fans have heard of. So I'll say that. So you may not cry, but you might be a little like, why wasn't this the under the radar guy? So we'll get there. We can get some feelings on Arch Manning and then circle back.
Yeah, and my thoughts on Arch Manning are simple. We've yet to see him in a full season, right? We haven't seen him through the full gauntlet, but what we have seen, he's shown promise. Okay. I was hard pressed to put him on my list just because we haven't seen the full season and the full run up through the SEC. But again, I like him. I think he's going to be just fine, and I like the weapons that they put around him. So we'll kind of just go from there. What are your thoughts, Tim?
Well, I mean, I don't want to go too far into it because I still have my number two and we still have number one. I don't know. Maybe Arch Manning makes my number one. We don't know. I mean, maybe he doesn't make my list at all. So I'll go ahead and give my number two though.
Go ahead.
You would like to give your number two.
No. I mean, mine was more of a dark horse number two, but we'll let you go for it.
Okay, I mean, whatever's clever. It's your show. Okay, guys. So my number two is a quarterback out of Clemson, Cade Klubnik. Now, he's another dual threat quarterback. He's kind of like an underrated dual threat quarterback. Like he's a really good passer. He's really accurate, but people forget that he can scramble and that he can just tuck the ball and just run the ball down the field. So he's a dual threat, and he led the Clemson Tigers to the college football playoffs last season, guys. Ironically, losing to Texas. So it's only fitting that he starts on my preseason Heisman favorites. All right. Do not sleep on Cade Klubnik. And I want to pause for a second because for the longest time, I was calling him Kubiak. I thought he was another Kubiak.
It's fair. That's fair. It's so close.
I was sitting there like, I think even last season, I said Cade Kubiak on my show, and I was sitting there and it was like in the middle of it, and I was like, his last name is Klubnik. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. And so I do want to iterate, guys. His name is Cade Klubnik out of Clemson. But don't sleep on him. He may start second on my list, but he could easily win this Heisman this year. Last season, he threw for 3,639 yards, 36 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. He is really accurate with the football. He rushed 119 times for 463 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, we do have to take into consideration some of those carries are if he got sacked. So his numbers probably were even better, but in college, when you get sacked, it hurts your rushing yards for some reason. But I'm excited to see what Klubnik can build on. If he can build on that success he had last year, elevate his game enough to build the case that he deserves the Heisman. So Cade Klubnik is my number 2 quarterback out of Clemson, really accurate, dual threat. He lost to Texas in the college football playoffs, but maybe he bounces back, and he's like, hey, I got to redeem myself for myself and for the team. And he bounces back, and maybe he wins a Heisman here. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I actually like Cade Klubnik. Not to go down the line, but that was actually, I wasn't going to say dark horse, but he was kind of my first outsider. Simply put, it's not because of him. I just don't. Something's been off with Clemson, just in general. Something just seems off with them for a couple years. So I love his talent. I like Klubnik a lot, but something I don't know if it's their offensive scheme or what, but it hasn't seemed very quarterback friendly. Probably since Trevor Lawrence. So I don't know if they're just giving him one read and then not helping him out. I don't know what it is, but something just seems a little off when you watch them. They kind of have to grind out some games, and that's kind of the Clemson way at the same point. But that's also the reason I didn't want him on my top 5. But he was my first outsider, right? I want people to pay attention to him because he himself, I think, has probably the highest ceiling of any of the quarterbacks, just given his all-around skill set. So I think if they're able to just figure it out around him, you could see a scary season from him.
Right.
And I think also with Clemson, they're in the ACC, right? And I think between him and Jennings, I think the ACC, you don't know what Florida State's going to do, right? Are they going to bounce back? You don't know what Miami's going to be like now with what they have. I'm not a big believer in Carson Beck, and he's now at Miami. So this Clemson team has everything in front of them, and it's all based on what Cade's able to do. I do like him and what he's able to bring to the table. I still think Dabo's still in his old ways, and I think that's kind of what's kind of hurting Clemson. I don't think it hurts extreme a lot just based on what Cade Klubnik's able to do. But I don't have him on my list, but I do think he's going to be up there. Timmy, what's on your mind, buddy?
Hey, I know we're doing a college segment, guys. Breaking news: Colts owner Jim Irsay has passed away.
Oh no!
Oh wow!
I just got the notification, and that's what I was looking at. Sorry, guys. That was my reaction because I was sitting there. I was like, I saw breaking news go on my phone, and I just kind of glanced down at it, and Colts owner Jim Irsay has passed away. I don't know the details of that yet, but
oh wow, that kind of came out of nowhere.
So to the Irsay family, sorry, our condolences.
Yeah.
Irsay, Colts family, everyone.
Right.
No matter how you felt about him, as far as looking at or controlling the team and being on the team, whatever, that's still nothing you wish on him. So obviously just the thoughts and prayers, condolences to him and his family, the Colts organization, the NFL. That's still a loss, right?
Yeah. Without the details, we won't go too far into it. Maybe that's something that, once we hear more details, we talk about it next week on the roundtable. So, all right.
Like I said, sorry, I just happened to see it and it kind of caught me off guard. So,
yeah, my apps are behind. What the hell? Anyways, so moving on from Klubnik, I am going my dark horse number 2. He's another receiver. It's Ryan Williams. He's another one of those guys that I think could play in the NFL now. And what he was able to do. So my brother mentioned Will Howard earlier with what he was able to do. Alabama was obviously not normal Alabama last year, right? They took a step back post Nick Saban era, but they were still Alabama. And when they needed a big play, this guy was the one who they'd get the ball to. And we can say, I know there's a lot of topics on Ryan Williams with what he does off the field and people judging him for that. This is strictly based on what he's able to do on the football field. I don't care about all the other stuff. I do know he is a really good receiver, and I'm not going to put him over Smith as far as talent goes, but I think he's the closest to Jeremiah Smith and what Jeremiah Smith can do. I don't know what it's going to look like for Alabama going in year 2 under DeBoer. For Alabama's sake and for people in Tuscaloosa, I hope it's better because I saw how miserable you guys were, and that's a good season for most teams. It's not a good season for Alabama. Timmy, you're the SEC guy. Maybe you can elaborate more on the down year for Bama and what they were able to do last year.
Okay, so first and foremost, Bama has dominated the SEC and the college football for a decade and a half. I mean, let's be real, almost 2 decades. You know, when Nick Saban first took over in 2007, after that season, you know, he had a bad first year with Alabama, but after that, he really kind of built that dynasty in Tuscaloosa. You know, yes, I have hog gear on. Yes, I have the flag behind me. I'm an adopted Arkansas fan. I'm adopted in because the family roots for them. I relocated, so I support the local team for a change. That's not going so well, but when Bama was struggling last season, I can just remember a lot of fans, you know, just like they need to fire the head coach. They need to fire him right now. You know, Nick Saban would never have this. They forget that Saban struggled in his first season. Okay. Yeah. You know, Saban didn't just come in and just automatically. Also, you got to realize we're in a new era here in college football with the transfer portal and the NIL, which we'll get to a little later on. We're in a new era, so these coaches are having to readapt. Because, I mean, look what he did at Washington, okay? He really turned that Washington program around. And it's big shoes to step in and fill when you're taking over a legend like, you know, for Nick Saban. And fans just have to, like, pump the brakes. It's okay to have a down season. Saban had a couple, you know, he had a down season here and there. I think Bama's going to be okay. I think they rebound. I am kind of interested to see how their quarterback situation goes, you know, now that they don't have Jalen Milroe there. But I think they're going to do just fine, unfortunately saying.
What are your thoughts on Old Williams?
I like Ryan Williams. I think him and Jeremiah Smith are kind of two of the same, or one of the same. Nick Saban saw the game evolving and said, "I'm out." Yeah, like 100% true. He's not putting up with the new day and age of college football. But yeah, I like Ryan Williams. I think he's another one who could have already been in the pros and having success right now. You're seeing a lot more of these young receivers kind of, I don't want to say NFL ready, but closer to NFL ready more and more these days. And he's going to be the vocal point of that offense. He could have statistically a very good season, but again, I think it depends on the amount of success that Alabama is able to have to see if he can crack his name into that Heisman list.
Does that put us at number 1 now? Does that put us at number 1?
Yes.
I think we all know.
Do you have a number 1?
I do, but I'm going to let him go because obviously that's what we've been waiting for, right?
Okay.
All right.
I was gonna build it up a little bit, but
all right. I mean, if you want to know my number 1,
tune in next week on.
So number 1 on my Heisman list, DJ Lagway, quarterback from Florida. Let me tell you why. I dominated with him on NCAA 25.
Oh, okay. Well, but by that, you know, on Madden 26, you know, I'm going to dominate with Amari Hampton, so he should be the MVP, right? Right, Cody?
I mean, hey, if that's how you want to do it, right? No, I actually just like what he has. I felt like Florida kind of figured themselves out the final few weeks of the season when they kind of let the world know they weren't going to fire their coach. They were going to stick with him. They were going to trust the process. That seemed to kind of get things figured out for Florida. And DJ Lag, he was a big time recruit, right? Like there was supposed to be some hype behind him. Again, it's going to come down to team success, but Florida is always a team that has the talent. They're just always a team that kind of gets in their own way a lot. But I think with them slowly turning the page that final month, what's up? I can't tell.
I struggle
What's
with
up?
that too.
Yeah.
I just call him Michael because that's his name.
How you doing, Michael? Thanks for tuning in, man. We really appreciate it. And also, big shout out to him for sharing a bunch of our stuff last night on Instagram. He was able to our follower count went up after you started sharing everything. So again, thank you to you and Tim also. So thanks for tuning in, and back to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, but I think if they can ride that momentum that they finished the season with, come out hot. He has the dual threat ability that we've kind of been talking about with quarterbacks. He's a really good thrower of the football as well. So, I mean, he has what it takes. It's just a matter of if Florida can kind of just put it together as a team for him to have that success. But I really like what they're about. I liked what I saw towards the end of that season. And I know it's weird to say, but I think it gives you a little jolt when everyone's calling for your coach to be fired and you come out and support him, to a player that also sounds like you're supporting us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you can kind of take that personally as a player, right? Like if the coach gets fired, it's because of how we're playing on the field too. So when you hear something like that, it's like they don't only support him, they're supporting us. And I think that's why those final few games, they kind of figured it out, or seems like they had.
Yeah, I like DJ Lagway. I think, and I don't want to compare it, but I do. I think he's kind of like Anthony Richardson, but I think he's going to be better than Anthony Richardson. I think the more. Sorry for the technical difficulties there. Tim, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Keep going, bud. I can hear you. Well, it seems like they're having a little technical difficulties. So until they come back, I'll just go ahead and give my little brief description of DJ Lagway. I actually put him in my honorable mention. Like he made it just outside my top 5. I thought he did a really good job last season. You know, he came in, he stepped in when Graham Mertz, I think it is, got hurt. And so he really kind of had a good season. And I believe he was only a freshman last season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he had a really good season. I like him. I wouldn't put him as my number 1, but it's Austin and he's going to say something a little crazy for us. Like I said, he's in my honorable mention because he comes, he's playing in the SEC. He's going to have the team around him. He's going to play enough competition that it warrants him, and the success that he brings to the table. So I have him as an honorable mention. So he made it right outside of my top 5.
Yeah, I also had him as an honorable mention as well. He was one to kind of keep on the radar. My number 1, I had it down to 2 guys. And I literally, up until this morning, I was kind of just going back and forth. I went with Drew Aller as my number 1 and my favorite to win. I love what Penn State's offense is able to do. Andy Kolnicki obviously is an old KU coordinator, but what he does with that offense, he's able to get the mismatches. It'll be interesting to see what they're able to do now that they don't have Tyler Warren and what they're able to do with that way. But as far as like the motions, and they still got Singleton, they got the running backs back there. Yeah. I think they may. I'm not making any predictions, but I do think that they will start number 1 in the AP when the AP poll comes out. I think Penn State's going to be ranked number 1 just based on what they have back. I know they lost a lot, but they're also able to fill in a lot of things as well. So I like Drew Aller as my number 1, and I think don't sleep on this Penn State team.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't have him in my top 5, and I don't think I put him as an honorable mention, but that is a really good pick. I'm not going to sit here and argue with that because, he did return for one more season to try to help his draft stock and to, maybe make it to the national championship. So Drew Aller, I mean, he's got the system, he's got the running back. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe he does make it in the Heisman.
And now the moment we've all been waiting for, unless do you have anything on Drew Aller?
No, I think he has a little less talent than some of these other names, but he is in a very quarterback-friendly system with Kotelnicki, so I think that helps him out. But he didn't make my list. He was kind of down one of the names I kind of thought of, but I like the system he's in, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Timmy, now's the chance. You have the floor. Who is Tim's number one Heisman candidate?
All right. First and foremost, before I get this started, guys, I want to say that honorable mentions DJ Lagway, Julian Sayer for Ohio State, and Garrett Nussmeier are my honorable mentions right outside my top 5. And now, Arch Manning. Yeah. I mean, the last name says it all, okay? He is a freaking Manning, and I could stop right there. I could just stop it right there, and that's enough of an argument to say that he's going to win the Heisman. Based off of his last name alone, he's going to already win the popularity votes, okay? So he doesn't even have to do anything, and he's already going to be a Heisman candidate. But we're going to dig a little deep into this. The last name Manning is legendary in college football. No, or in the football world for that matter. No doubt denying that. Started with Archie Manning, then Peyton, and Eli. Now, the Manning name is popular in college football once again. This time, the nephew of Peyton and Eli, and it is young Arch Manning. We got to see glimpses of him last season, kind of like what Austin was talking about a little bit earlier, guys. If you miss it, you'll have to go back and listen. Make sure you're liking and subscribing while you're at it. You don't want to miss any action here at Shovick Sports. Now, with that said, he had glimpses last season. And, now that Quinn Ewers is gone, Arch is going to take over. He is the most athletic Manning of the whole entire family. That was on full display with his 67-yard rushing touchdown against, I understand it was against a weaker opponent, but the fact is a quarterback rushing for 76 yards and a touchdown is still impressive. He did it against UTSA. Now, I know it's not as impressive level of competition, but the speed of Arch cannot be denied, okay? I think Arch carries on the Manning name and brings a Heisman to the family finally. He finally brings a Heisman to the Manning family. So he is my number one. I really don't think a lot of people will argue with that because, yeah, we only saw glimpses, but at the end of the day, he's still a Manning. He's still a quarterback. He's still going to do good in college. Now, whether that translates to the NFL, that's yet to be determined. But in the college world, I think he will dominate.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. Just for parity's sake, I didn't put him number one just because I didn't want to have the same number ones. But again, it's going well for you when you're still winning games last year and the crowd still wants Manning to come in over Quinn Ewers, right? Yeah. What Quinn Ewers was able to do last year was great, but you get restless, right? You have a Manning waiting in the wings. You want to see what he's able to do. And it may have been against lesser competition, but anytime a quarterback's able to do something that a lot of running backs still aren't able to do, and that's take, long touchdown runs, right? So the fact he's able to do that on top of the fact the kid can throw the football really well, yeah, it's going to be really, really surprising. And, it's going to take, we don't want injuries or wish injuries on anybody. But I think unless something like that happens, it's going to be him. And we talk about quarterback-friendly systems. There's no friendlier system than Sark's. I think with Steve Sarkisian, He is one of the, if not one of, he is the best play caller as far as offenses go in college football. And you could probably debate that. I mean, Lincoln Riley hasn't done shit since he's been at USC. So miss me with Lincoln Riley. Sorry if we have any Lincoln Riley fans out there. I don't know why you're watching this channel, but thank you. Sark is the guy, and I love. And you couldn't get any better of a quarterback to be in a system than Arch Manning with Texas.
Yeah, no, I mean, I touched on it earlier, right? Like the little bit we got to see him last year. I mean, you saw it, right? Like you didn't need to see a whole lot before you realize that, damn, this guy might be the real deal. Then you couple the fact that he's on Texas. They're always going to have 4, 5, 6 receivers and running backs that he can get the ball to with 4.2 speed. That's going to help the numbers out a little bit too. And then, like he said, like the play calling system, it's all there for him, right? Like he's in a situation and has the talent to where he doesn't even have to play his best all year and can still easily have the best season of anyone in college football, just given the friendly ecosystem and talent around him. So I think he's a clear-cut favorite. He is actually who I originally had number 1, but I kind of like him. I didn't want to just have the consensus number 1 of what like everyone did. So that's why I went DJ Lagway. But like if I was putting money down, it would definitely go towards Arch Manning.
And I will say this, I still like Drew Aller as a Heisman finalist, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was able to win. But let's be clear and upfront that Arch Manning's obviously the guy right now.
Hey, real quick, if we got time, I have a couple of dark horses.
Go for it.
And me too. I'm glad you said that.
If we have to cut out, I'm not too concerned. We'll still talk about the NIL, but if we have to cut the middle part out, we can. I'd rather talk dark horses. We're good with this.
Okay, I was just gonna say because I got one dark horse, and I'm actually gonna go last on this one because I want the hype to be there because I have a freaking dark horse of all dark horses, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
Then we'll start with you.
All right, my biggest dark horse is Bryce Underwood. I'm a Michigan head. They finally have like a quarterback, right? Like you didn't get to see much of JJ McCarthy. Like he's very system friendly, but they've always been like ground and pound. But I think they got this true elite 5-star quarterback. They're going to unleash. They're going to try to not rebrand themselves, but they're going to be a little different now, right? And I think they're going to be able to use his rushing ability to help their running attack. I don't know if they're going to quite have the weapons around him yet, but I think that's where he gains the running ability. But okay. I don't know. There's a lot of hype around this guy. I'm also a Michigan head. Like if I'm not watching KU and rooting for KU, it would 100% be Michigan. So I might be a little biased on that, but I don't know. There's a lot of hype around the guy, and I like him.
There is a lot of hype around him, and I'm not. Yeah, I guess you can look at this 2 ways, right? He likes Michigan, so obviously the consensus is I'm not going to like Michigan. The consensus is I always root for Ohio State when he's pulling for Michigan, just because that's just a fun thing to do, right? So, but I do like Bryce Underwood, and I don't know if year 1 he's going to do it, but again, that's what makes him a dark horse, right? That's why you say dark horse Bryce Underwood. So I don't have too many thoughts on it yet. I still want to see what's going to happen when Moore gets his suspension. I think week 3 and 4 or something like that before they head in. So we'll see how that goes. Tim, let's get your dark horse. Unless you have thoughts on Bryce Underwood.
No. Bryce Underwood, 5-star recruit, and he could very well just come in and just take the nation by surprise. But at the end of the day, I will push back just a little. Michigan is still a run team. Just because Jim Harbaugh isn't there, they still do like to rely on the defense and run the ball. But, I mean, great dark horse there, Austin. Great. All right, so I'm going to give my just outside of my top 5 dark horse, and then I'm going to give the one that might shock some people.
Let's hear it.
All right, so first up is quarterback Sam. Is it Leavitt, Arizona State?
Yep. Yeah. Yep, Sam.
Okay, I feel Leavitt is an underrated passer. Not many people were talking about him as much last season because the main focal point of the offense was Cam Scatterboo. Leavitt is really good at not turning the ball over. Last season, he threw for 2,885 yards, 24 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. So he's good at protecting the ball. He also showcased his running ability and making things happen outside the pocket by adding 443 yards on 110 carries and 5 touchdowns. Leavitt makes my dark horse for Heisman because we all know anything can happen. I'm excited to see how he does in year 2 at Arizona State, first and foremost, because now he's in the same system. He came back. He had offers to transfer, and he chose to stay at Arizona State. So he's going to get another full year at Arizona State, and I'm really anxious to see how well he does in year 2 at Arizona State. And so he's like another one of those just made it just outside my top 5. I probably would have him probably around the 9 mark or so.
And on that one, we talked earlier, someone made the comment of you don't – there's going to be someone who comes out of nowhere. Well, that was Arizona State last year, right? I believe they were finished bottom of the Big 12, and they just wouldn't stop losing or winning. And I even kind of had it as we were doing the KU schedule predictions, obviously, at one of our episodes, and I was like, oh, Arizona State, Arizona, they absolutely took care of Kansas last year. So, again, not so much under the radar this year. So we'll see how they do now that there's a target and people know of Arizona State and what they were able to do. I believe they had a really good transfer class, so they were able to reload some of the positions. So I do like Sam as a dark horse, and honestly, he was on my list. I kept him out just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think another thing we can add to kind of what favors him a little bit, right, is playing in that Big 12. It's not exactly going to be the gauntlet, so he really does have the opportunity. Year 2, the familiarity, he really does have the opportunity to come out and just shine, right? There's no games on the calendar you really circle in the Big 12 where you're like, this is going to be super duper tough. Like, there's some tough opponents, right? Like, it's not a cakewalk, but there's no Georgia, Alabama. Like, there's no games like that you're circling in the Big 12. And I think that's something that favors these Big 12 players. So I like him as a dark horse. I do think not enough people talked about that passing game last year because of Cam. But I think people who watch enough college ball know that, like, that dude could sling it. And they had some decent weapons, right? Like, their receivers weren't just nobodies. So I think it's there for him. We'll see if he can string 2 years together. But I like that dark horse a lot.
Yeah.
Let's hear that last one.
All right. First and foremost, if I don't get any other clip from this show, I want this one. Okay. Real quick, take a guess, Corey, who you think it might be.
Oh, shit, man. Are we looking off? Is it an offensive side, like quarterback?
It could be anybody. It's a dark horse.
Oh, shit. No, because he's not at Arkansas anymore. Is it Jefferson?
No. Austin?
I didn't know how bold we were trying to get here. If you thought it was going to be him or not.
It could literally be anyone. I don't even know. I was going to guess Arkansas's quarterback too, just given.
Oh, Taylor Green? No. Okay. All right, guys.
North Carolina running back.
Huh?
North Carolina running back.
No, I'm not that big on North Carolina. Okay. This man transferred. He's got a lot of drama behind him, boys.
Oh, no, you're not going.
My dark horse quarterback.
Is this going to be
out of UCLA is Nico Iamaleava. This one is more of what I think would be funny to see. Switching schools, dealing with the drama that came with that decision. But come on, Nico Iamaleava with a Heisman. Nico wants to prove to everyone that the reason he struggled in Tennessee was the scheme and not him. He didn't have a terrible season with the Vols last season, but he will need to make dramatic improvements to see a Heisman Trophy this season. Nico Iamaleava hoisting the Heisman Trophy this season would be the ultimate screw you to the Tennessee Volunteers.
And he's not. I mean, he's not a bad quarterback. I'll give you that.
No, I mean, he was a big-time prospect at one point, right? Like, kind of a redemption story, I guess, is kind of how this one would go.
You want to know how I learned how to say his name?
Practice?
College 25, the video game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I literally sat there and listened to Reese Davis and all the commentators. I literally picked Tennessee in an expedition game just to sit there and hear the commentators say his name over and over, because I'm not going to lie. Back in October, when I first started the show last season, I couldn't pronounce. I was like, okay.
I did see a bunch of Tennessee fans once he left said his last name was Iamaleava.
Yep. I'm Aliva.
So I was like, I'm just going to go with that because that's kind of cool.
So, yeah, I literally was playing College 25, the video game, listened to the commentators, and I broke it down. I was like, Iamaleava, and, I just kept, and so that's actually kind of how I've learned some of these names, is because I was like, oh, man, I don't know how that's pronounced at all. And then it's like, I hear the commentators on it. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So a little history lesson on how I've learned to pronounce some of these insane college names.
Yeah, it's fitting because we're getting ready to talk. He's a huge reason why we're getting ready to talk about the NIL stuff. So, but again, it would be a huge move for him and kind of, but at the same time, no matter what you think, whether it was a scheme, whether, Josh Heupel had to make a decision, I think at the end of the day, he made the right decision on what he did with his quarterback. It's never easy to give, just push a talent aside like that, right? So I don't know what to expect with him going to UCLA and what the Big Ten stacks up for UCLA and how it's going to go. But again, he's talented enough where he could. I mean, he's one of those guys. I think he's talented enough where he can make guys around him better. I just don't know if UCLA has that.
Okay, well, I'm good on my dark horses. That was it.
I have one more just because.
Oh shit!
I know it's not going to be a popular pick, and that's usually where I find myself enjoying hanging out, like just by myself in these areas. I still think one of the dark horses, and I know there's some baggage and whatnot, but I still like Carson Beck as a dark horse.
Oh, get out of here!
Yeah,
I really do. I mean, same thing. I'm not even going to entertain Nico, right? Like, he has the talent. He just kind of let it get to his head, ego stroke. He has to reset himself. We say it in pro sports a lot, right? Like, fresh start somewhere else, realize what you have to do. He's going to a place, Miami, just saw number 1 overall pick. Again, I don't think the ACC's that difficult. It's going to be like lesser competition for him. Again, it's a dark horse, but what we've said about so many of these players, he's had the talent, right? Like, it's there for him. I think it got to him a little bit. That early success got to him.
I can see that because honestly, he was, talked last season. He was talking about being a number 1 overall pick and the first quarterback taken in this past draft, and then he struggled and he struggled and he struggled, and then he realized, like, I'm not going to be a first round pick. I may not even be a second round pick. I'm just going to go back to college and make more money. So,
yeah, no, that's, again, not a popular pick. It's kind of one of those redemption stories too, kind of out there. But I'm surprised nobody said Patrick Mahomes Jr. out there with Dylan Raiola.
That's okay.
Yes, pass on that. So let's move on real quick. We'll spend Tim, yes or no? And we may spend like 5 minutes on this. Bill Belichick, UNC. Obviously, the last 2 weeks, a lot of drama with Mrs. Belichick, apparently. So
Right.
I remember a time that Bill Belichick, anytime a distraction would be a distraction, he would get rid of distraction. I don't know if he's getting rid of this distraction. Does he make it past this season with UNC?
All right, so real quick, I don't need to spend a whole lot of time. I do have just a little bit here to say, and then we can move on if you want. I think Bill Belichick will be the coach of North Carolina this season unless a prime head coaching position opens up in the NFL. And I mean, it has to be like, something like just a really great team, but they were struggling and they were like, oh, we need to change. And
the Bengals.
Maybe. But college football isn't what it used to be, and Bill won't have to focus on recruiting as much if he doesn't want to. With the transfer portal, he can just pick out the best players that enter and assemble a team. I feel like it'll be a lot easier for Bill to win at the college level than it will be in the NFL nowadays. I'm excited to see what he can do at North Carolina. When I heard the news, I got really excited. I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of interesting. And then I was like, oh, wait, transfer portal. He will be able to just basically buy his players, I guess. Being a part of the ACC, which could be a little more open than some people think it could be, I would like to see the Tar Heels make the playoffs just because I'm a fan of teams that haven't been there to win it. Now, I'm not saying they're going to make the college football playoffs, but, man, would it be really cool to see Bill Belichick in the college football playoffs in his first year at North Carolina. And that's really all I've got to say. I think he does stay with UNC unless a real prime coaching job opens up. And I'm not sure if there would be any midseason. So,
yeah, no, I agree. I think he's at North Carolina for however long, whether it's this season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, until, like you said, a prime head coaching gig in the NFL comes a knocking. I still think he has his eyes on the all-time win record. I say what you want. I still think that's something that's important to him. But I think he's at North Carolina until that opportunity comes. Unless he has like a winless season, I just don't see North Carolina really caring too much about all the baggage he brings. As long as they're winning competitive enough or just better, I see him lasting as long as he wants to there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually on the train of I do think he's there for a year, but I don't think he's past a year. I think it's 1 year and he's done. And whether or not his marriage lasts throughout the season, I don't know. But let's get to our next topic. This is one I'm actually really excited about. Hi, Joel. Hi, guys. Three guys, 6 balls, NFL podcast.
Or in case you missed it last night,
Noel.
Hi, Noel. Hi, Noel.
Yeah. So let's get to our last topic here real quick. NIL. It's obviously been a hot topic this offseason. We've already done kind of a mini show on our thoughts on the NIL, but even since we did that show a few weeks ago, there's been even more stuff coming out as far as NCAA is trying to send something to the D1 Council about letting players sports gamble, sports betting on games, doing et cetera, et cetera. Tim, is it time for them to just get rid of NIL and head to free agency?
Man, this is like one of those topics that I feel like I could just rant about forever.
All day. Honestly, yes, absolutely.
I can make this a whole episode. I won't go that deep because I don't want to go all night into this episode, but it really is kind of feeling like it is feeling more like free agency than NIL. Now, I talked about this on my show earlier this year. I feel some rules and regulations need to happen to prevent this from being the absolute chaos that it is at the moment. All right. That is first and foremost. I think there only needs to be one transfer portal window per season. Don't go having the winter and the spring transfer, because what did that do? That only hurt the spring games. A lot of people opted to not even participate in them because they were scared that their players would be plucked from their team. So I think that right there is kind of hurting college football. And I'm a big college football guy. I mean, and you guys are too. You know, I really don't want to see this get any more out of hand than it already is. Now, I also, I don't know, you know, make it something like you get one transfer, maybe two, the whole time you're in college. You know, this whole players switching teams faster than Austin changes his underpants is getting a little out of hand here. All right. All right. It's getting a little out of hand. I'm tired of seeing like, you know, Carson Beck on one team this year and then another team and then another team. No, like I think like you sign with the team, you transfer. Maybe your senior year you can transfer again, or your junior. Maybe you get two the whole time you're in college, but quit doing this. You only have to be there for 1 year. I also don't like the players just transferring for money. The NIL was created to help players get paid due to the name, image, and likeness being on full display, you know, and I'm all for that. The players should get paid. I think that they should only get paid a certain amount of money. It wasn't meant for players to be getting paid ridiculous amounts of money. Like college athletes, college players should not be making more than professional athletes, period. If you are making 1 million at one school, you shouldn't be able to transfer to another school to make 3 million. You should only be allowed to take the same amount wherever you go. Now, one last thing real quick, and then I'll get your thoughts and we can go back and forth on this. I also feel if you sign with a team and you don't play any games and you transfer on the next window, you should have to pay that money back. I really do. I think you should have to pay that money back. You should have to, you can't, like if you sign with the University of Kansas or the University of Arkansas or the University of UTSA for $500,000, you should not be able to leave that school and go to UCLA and make $2 million or to Oklahoma and make $5 million. So I'm not a fan. I really do think that they need to get a hold on this. And I think that it's getting to be just straight and utter chaos. And I'm actually scared that this could ruin college football for a lot of fans.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree completely. It's not even like they don't even need to call it transfer portals anymore. Like free agent period 1, free agent period 2.
Yeah.
Because all that's happening is every athlete, every single athlete is going to enter the transfer portal just to see what school. Hell, I might be happy where I'm at, but maybe this school over here is going to offer me 3 or 4 million more.
Right.
So every athlete is going to. It happened with one of the KU basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
He entered the transfer portal just to see. You know, he had kind of come on out of nowhere, had a decent season, entered the transfer portal just to see what was out there. Ended up coming back, but that's what you're going to see now. 100% of these athletes are going to just start seeing how much money they can get wherever. There's going to be no loyalty to any school whatsoever. 3 guys, 6 balls. You shouldn't be allowed to stay in school for 7 years with 20 different teams like Tyler Shook. Like,
what the shuck is that about?
But it's true. Like, and I think the only way you should have not even 20 different teams, but if you stay 7 years, you'd have to be like redshirted, get a medical red shirt. But other than that, it shouldn't be 20 different teams though. But there's just my only thing with it is I need to hear NCAA quit calling these people student athletes anymore. Yeah. Because no part of this is student anymore. They've always based that like we still student first, athlete second, and how these programs are going. Like it's not true. It's honestly just a semi-pro league now, right? Like whoever does the highest bidding for me, that's where I'm going. Schooling doesn't matter. I'm going where the money is. I 100% agree with you. This is going down a path that you're not going to be able to correct.
Well, and if I may add something real quick, I just think that it's unfair. You know, like you think of it like, well, let's break this down for a second, guys. You have a university like Texas, Alabama, Georgia. They're able to just really hammer the money out. Okay. Oh, you get $1 million, you get $1 million, you get $2 million. You know, they can do it at their will.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got teams, you know, maybe like K-State or maybe like Vanderbilt or, you know, like some of these lesser marketed teams, and they're not able to even sign players of that caliber because they don't have the money to compete. And that's not what this was ever intended, guys. Like I was saying, it was intended for the athletes to get paid because their name, their image, and their likeness is put on full display for the entire nation to see. That I you know, and my soon-to-be father-in-law actually told me this. We were talking. Everybody should be paid the same amount. You know, if it's $1 million, it's $1 million. Like everybody on the team makes $1 million. If it's 500,000, and by the way, I think $1 million is too much, and people push back on me, and that's fine. Come find me, answer the call. All social medias, attack me if you want. That is fine. I will take it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, no college athlete should be making more than the NFL. They should be 500,000 and less, honestly. And 500,000 is honestly pushing it for me, even at the college level.
And there's two things for me on this. I don't know many NIL deals that turn into 2-year, $5 million contracts. What they're publicly saying now is, yeah, we got him for 2 years, $4 million. Well, that's a contract. That's not there's no NIL in there. There's no name, image, or likeness.
No.
In a 2-year, when you're coming out publicly saying it's a 2-year contract. Like what? Which I believe that was actually the South Alabama quarterback going from South Alabama to North Carolina. They said it was a 2-year deal worth up to $4 million. Okay.
Oh, that's what you sign in the NFL.
Exactly. And then my second part to this is go find an NFL team who's talking to a Justin Jefferson while he's under contract. Hey, we know the Vikings are paying you $40 million. We can offer you $42 million. That's not there. Right. You're punished for that. Like that's tampering. You get fined. You lose draft picks. Your ownerships they're going to have to fork out money.
Right.
Why are we able to call a kid up who's going to, you know, let's say a small school like the North Dakota states, right? That seems to be the small schools getting plucked from like Alabama, from the big schools. Mm-hmm. Or even if you're in let's say Big Ten, you have Ohio State calling kids that are at, you know, Maryland or Rutgers or one of the bottom teams of that. There's no way that should be allowed, because when you get to the pro level, you're not going to be able to do that. You sign your name on that contract, you're under contract. There's no, hey, the Chiefs are calling me. I got 2 more years left on my deal, but they're going to offer me a 4 for, you know, $6 million more. No, you absolutely not. You're not setting a very good tone right now. And you're setting these kids up for failure based on they're going to get into the NFL and they're going to be like, I did this when I was in college. What are we going to do here? Where the NFL is obviously big dog. They're going to shut all that down super quick. Yeah. And I look at it as, I think the NFL needs to step in here with the NCAA and show them some guidance. You know, I know that they're trying to take this to DC and they're trying to get senators and congressmen and all this. We're not going to get into all that on this show, but I think the NFL is better suited to guide NCAA on how to do this the correct way, to prepare these young gentlemen who are going to be coming into their league and branding the NFL shield. You got to come in with some expectations, and you're not setting a very good expectation right now when I'm a Texas and I can call over to, you know, a Utah State or a Nevada or the small schools who they don't have money. They're relying on these kids, and these kids pull out last second. They can't just hit the transfer portal and say, hey, we need a replacement right away. It just doesn't work that way. So those are my 2 thoughts on, don't call it NIL when you're handing out contracts 2-year deals. And again, you shouldn't be allowed, once you're enrolled in a school and on your letter of intent, and once your name's on that letter of intent, it's a mess. It's a mess. So I am curious, Tim, on your thoughts on those.
Yeah, you know, You don't want to sit there and let this get out of hand, like I said. And if they're not okay, if you sign a contract for 2 years, you should be obligated to fulfill that. Okay. You were talking like kind of doing the NFL comparison. If Justin Jefferson signed a 3-year deal and then tried to, like opt out after one, like you said, he's going to be penalized for that. Like, he's going to lose money. He's going to have to fork over money, fines, whatever. He has a price to pay. I think there needs to be kind of like a commissioner,
Yes.
maybe like, I don't know, maybe Nick Saban, maybe
Yes.
Pat McAfee. I don't know. One of those just kind of comes to my mind. But like, if you don't fulfill that contract, so like if Nico Iamaleava, which I want to point out that the University of Arkansas, so Matt and Iamaleava, the brother of Nico, came to Arkansas in the winter transfer portal. Okay. He was going to be the quarterback. Then all of a sudden the spring transfer happens and he decides that he wants to transfer from Arkansas to UCLA to go play with his brother. And the athletic director said, we're going to sue you for the money that you owe us because we gave you X amount of money. I can't remember the details, but they actually stepped in and was like, you're not going to do that. And I hope more teams start doing that. Like, hey, we signed you to this deal. Let's honor that deal and let's grow up to be respectful adults. And like you said, the NFL should kind of do something because, I mean, that is the future of their brand, And like you look at, like I remember at my high school, there was this private school that was able to just recruit whoever they wanted because they were a private school. So it literally did not matter if they lived in the district or not. We had a running back, and he was great. He was a great running back. And this private school called him up, or like after a game or something, and was talking to him and was like, "Oh, you should come play for us." And he goes, "No, I'm gonna stay to my hometown." And I know I give Cody a lot of crap about Ashton Genty and the rankings, but one thing I will say about Ashton Genty and what I respect about Ashton Genty as a player, last season, Genty had offers to make more money. And he said, no, I want to stay here at Boise because I want to build a legacy. I'm not here to make money. I'm here to build a legacy. And that my hat's off to the guy. I have mad respect for the young man, but it's just, it's free agency. It's, not NIL like it was intended. And we got to cap this, guys, because it's getting out of hand. It's going to hurt college football. And, like I said, for me, I grew up watching college football. To this day, I still prefer college football over the NFL. Now, does that mean I hate the NFL? Absolutely not. But if I have a choice, because, the schedule of the NFL, there's, I think, week 16, week 17 NFL games that is going on the first round of the college playoffs. And I'm going to tune into the college playoffs over that NFL. I don't even care if it's my favorite team. But I think for most fans, they're going to start seeing this, and it's going to start pushing them away because they're like, this wasn't what college football was intended for. So I hope we can get this under control and really just kind of nip it in the butt, guys, because I don't want to see all this. I'm not a fan of it at all. I'm for the players getting paid. I'm not for all this.
Yeah, and I think a couple things we've mentioned on previous episodes was like it's turning into just the wild, wild west where there's no rules, there's no guidelines, there's no boundaries, right? It's just a free for all, and that's absolutely no way to go about this. And then just to your point of like what made college football special, and again, this isn't a knock on the NFL, but it always seemed like the NCAA, like you got a little more effort, a little more energy, a little more passion.
Right.
You're kind of losing that because you're not getting these dudes they don't really have that for the jersey they're putting on, right? They're like, I'm here because they paid me the most. I'm going to go play my sport. I'm going to go play my position. I'm not going to quite have that passion, that fight that we used to see. That was always my favorite part of college football.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Nebraska guy, but like those early Nebraska teams where their walk-on program was just turning out some studs, right? Like,
yeah,
you're kind of losing that aspect of college football. And so I think you're spot on. You keep getting farther and farther away from that with where we're going. You are going to turn a lot of people off to college football because it's honestly just going to be a lower level of the NFL. And like you said, not a lot of people are back. You still watch the NFL, but it's not at the same level, the same passion, the same excitement that we usually get from college football. So I completely agree. Something has to be done. There has to be guidelines. There has to be a committee, a commissioner, something, not necessarily to level the playing field, but to just get this under control, because it's not going to last. You can't do this forever. So, I agree.
And I think also what it does is, I mean, you think about, the Bama dynasty, and, what Saban did. Like, he really built that dynasty. Like, he spent the man hours. He recruited all those, all them players, so I think for me, it turns into one of those like, well, why are we going this direction? And like, kind of like what you said, a lot of the players, like growing up, I mean, that was the reason I love college, because I was like, they're there to prove something. They're not making any money. They're there to try to make money at the next level. They're showcasing their ability because they want to be the first round draft pick. They want to be that first player taken. And now you're just kind of, well, I'm going to go here. And you're not building any culture, and you're not building any chemistry within the team, because we don't know if this quarterback or this receiver or this corner or this running back is even going to be on my team from winter to spring or spring to winter. So there's no loyalty right now, and this is really hurting college football.
Yeah, and you're also losing what you said. Like, they had something to prove, right? They wanted to make money at the next level, but we're also losing those juniors, those seniors, and even those like fifth year seniors who were leaving it all out there because they knew there was nothing next. Right. But now even those juniors and those seniors who can stay 12 years now, they're not necessarily proving too much to try to get money at the next level, but they're like, I have a couple transfer windows I can try to hit to see if I can get somewhere else and make that money while I can. So I'm with you. I think the players should get paid, but something needs to be done.
All right. Tim, give everyone your socials. Let's wrap this up tonight, buddy.
All right. So real quick, all the socials, Answer the Call, COLL. Now, Instagram, it's a little different. There is underscores after each word, not to be confused with each letter. Like I said at work yesterday, I was giving somebody my Instagram, and I was like, it's underscore after every letter. I mean, after every word. He's like, oh, man, if it's after every letter, you might want to change that. But it's Answer underscore the underscore call, COLL. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Answer the Call. You type it in, you should see this nice big bearded fellow with the football at his feet. That's me. And one last thing, guys. If you want to talk ball, I will answer the call.
And there's our socials scrolling at the bottom: Instagram, X, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. Again, thank you to the new followers. We're getting closer and closer and closer to 1K on Instagram. We're getting close. I think we're a little close to or above 400 on X. And I'll still work on our TikTok. I think we're over 100 on TikTok now, and then we're up to 40 subs on YouTube. So again, we appreciate all that and all the love that you guys show to us. Next week, we're back. AFC West Roundtable next Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We have a fun episode lined up. I'm not going to give the details here. We'll all do our normal promotion of the show, okay? And we'll tell you guys what's going to be on the show next week. Just know the first 2 episodes have not disappointed. They've not disappointed. Tim and my brother, obviously, 2 weeks in, 2 shows in, we just don't know. We just don't know whether it's Hampton over Genty, whether it's the Chargers finishing last in the AFC West. Those are just some of the takes, everyone. Those are just some of the takes. There's more. There's going to be more that are going to come.
Real quick, before we wrap this up officially, I do want to just say, like, I want to clear something up. When I put the rankings, I did Dynasty Fantasy Football rankings. I didn't say this season. I didn't say I said Dynasty Fantasy Football rankings, and I put Amari Hampton above Ashton Genty because I really think after this season, Amari Hampton will be the lead back, and he will be dominating the Chargers backfield and dominating the league. So I think he scores a little bit more fantasy points per game than Genty long term. And that's all I was really saying. I think everybody kind of took it the wrong way and said, like, I think Amari Hampton's the better running back. I didn't quite say that. I was talking for fantasy football purposes, but nonetheless, it's a great debate.
And either way, be nice to Tim. Like, it's all out of fun and what we're trying to do. It's his opinion, and obviously his opinions do matter on our roundtable. Okay. And I know it was some good love. It was, the comments I was reading through them, they're all right. Okay. But again, his opinions do matter on our show. His opinions do matter on the AFC West roundtable because he is a co-host of the roundtable. So therefore his takes do matter. And again, that's what we're all about. We want the takes. We want the reactions.
We love the good debates, good conversation. Like, let's heat it up.
Bring on the hate. If you need somebody to hate today, hate on this guy, because at the end of the day, you're still interacting and you're still engaging. So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's, again, 2 episodes in. We got a whole season coming up. So, again, we're extremely excited. We're back next week on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and all these other socials. We'll have those posted for everybody. We'll give you a complete episode rundown. We're not going to do that tonight because it's not fair with the other guys not here. So right. just know they know that we're on next week too. We've all been talking in the group about the episode breakdown. So again, thanks to everybody in the comments section tonight. You guys have been great. You've been fantastic. So again, from both of us, thanks Tim for coming on tonight. We will see you guys for a huge episode next week on the roundtable.
Hey, thank you for having me. Peace out, guys.